channel. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I make videos on education, personal finance, and lifestyle. I make videos for international students, so basically people on F1 visa or H1B in the US. So today I'm going to be talking about how to choose your major as an international student. So this is basically for those that are like freshmen or maybe sophomores. Also, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my PC and I'm trying to make sure that I get all the tips that I have for you guys. A lot of international students usually get confused and torn between majors, so I hope that the tips that I provide today are going to be very helpful to you guys. So stay tuned. So if you're an international student in the US, you know that it is very expensive to study in the US. Like, you pay like twice the tuition for domestic students because you're paying out of state. So like a domestic student might be paying maybe 5k or maybe 10k for tuition, and you probably be paying 20k, which is a lot of money. Also, you can't get loans because loans are usually for domestic students. So we know how hard it is, and like, you know, your family back home, they invest a lot of money in you, so it is imperative that you actually study something that makes sense and something that, you know, is gonna help you pay the bills, if we're being realistic. So the first thing you're gonna check is if it's a STEM major. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Usually STEM majors get like more, you know, preferences, more opportunities, more scholarship opportunities and things like that. So before you choose a major, actually check if it's STEM. STEM majors get 2 years extra of OPT. So if you're an international student, you probably know what OPT is, which is optional practical training. So it's basically 1 year that you get after studying in the US. So after your 4 years of bachelor's degree, you get 1 year OPT to actually like practice what you studied, which is when you work, right? Now for STEM majors, after that 1 year of OPT, you still get extra 2 years of OPT, which is called the STEM OPT. If you study STEM, you get 3 years in total of OPT instead of just 1 year for those that did not study STEM. So that's one thing you should check. If the major you're trying to choose, you have to check if it's actually a STEM major. The number 2 thing you should make sure and check before you choose a major is the job market for that major. You have to check if you're going to be able to get a job easily, because as an international student, after graduation, you get only 3 months of like grace, 3 months of unemployment to be able to look for a job. And it's actually recommended that before you graduate, you get a job, so that you know that you have something waiting for you, so you don't use that 3 months of unemployment looking for a job, which might, you know, God forbid, you might not get a job after that 3 months, then you're out of status and you have to go back to your country. So one of the things you should check is if you can get a job easily, because the thing is, domestic students, they actually, you know, when they graduate, they can take a year off, which is really good for your mental health. Honestly, you can take a year off, travel the world, go do something you like before you get into the corporate industry. International students, you don't have that option. Literally, after you're graduating, you only have 3 months of grace, and then you have to get a job, or you have to start working basically. For me personally, I got my job about like 4 or 5 months before graduation. So literally my first semester of my senior year, I started applying to jobs, and that was when I got my job, which I highly recommend for anybody that's an international student, just to make sure that, you know, you have that backup and you have. One thing that I would say to check before you start going into a major is if that major is going to comfortably pay your bills. I know that, like we say, oh yeah, study what you love, do what you love, follow your passion, all of that. But if your passion cannot pay you, or if your passion is only paying you like $1,000 a month, then it's not realistic to follow that passion, at least for that at that point in time. International students, I'm gonna say, find a major that actually, you know, is gonna pay your bills. Find a major that is gonna pay your bills, and you're gonna have some left to save, because this is gonna help you for like rainy days and everything. There was a period in 2020 when the OPT, there was so much backlog for OPT, a lot of people lost their jobs, and these people that lost their jobs, they were surviving on the savings that they had when, you know, they were in school and everything. So for international students, I'm just gonna say, if your major, the major you're studying right now, if you know that it's not gonna pay your bills, frankly, I'm just gonna be realistic, leave that major and find something that is gonna pay your bills. Except you want to study that major maybe in another country where it's an in-demand major, it's an in-demand job, you know, something like that, then of course, yes, you can go ahead and do that. But if you're planning to remain back in the States and work with that major with your OPT, and it's not going to pay your bills comfortably, then I mean, I do not recommend doing that. The last thing that I'm going to say for you to check when you're trying to choose a major as an international student is to know if companies are going to sponsor you. Now, when you're an international student, you're usually on F1 visa, and that F1 visa is student visa. And you know, after your OPT of 1 year, and maybe if you have STEM and have 2 extra years of OPT, you have to either go back to your country or switch, change status, or maybe go back to school or something like that. So after you finish school, you only have 3 years of OPT if you study STEM, and if you do not study STEM, you only have 1 year to actually work. So as an international student, I'm going to say you have to do a major that you know companies are going to sponsor you for, because as you're an F1 visa, if companies are sponsoring you, then you can win the lottery and get to H1B visa, and that will change your status from student status to work status. And H1B gives you 6 years, well, basically 3 years for the first time, and then you can reapply again and get another 3 years. So if you're an international student, I'm gonna say, I mean, be realistic, study something that you know companies are gonna sponsor you for. Don't go and study a major that you know companies don't want to sponsor you, because it's hard. It's very, very hard, because remember, you're not just competing for those jobs with other internationals, you're competing with these jobs with domestic students also, and companies are actually going to give them preference because it's their country. You came to their country. You're competing with domestic students, you're competing with other international students, and you're also competing with other people from other countries who are also applying to those jobs in the US. So make sure you study a major that you know that companies are going to sponsor you. Guys, this brings me to the end of my video. I hope you guys found these tips helpful. If you did, please subscribe. You can also follow my Instagram for, you know, if you have questions or anything, and please drop comments in the comment section. And yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in another video.